Hello everybody and welcome back to the Bricker's Ways Den. So, today I want to talk about the Owl House because I want to start up the TV movie stuff now. I know recently I've been doing a lot of Lego stuff, so now I'm going to move into some of the TV and movie stuff. And I don't know if you watched my other video, which was basically like my channel update, but I'm very big into animated shows and things, and Owl House has been a recent animated show that I've been really, really into. So I thought I'd talk about the first 5 episodes of Season 2, because, originally I was going to do it episode by episode. I cannot speak today. Episode by episode. But, it doesn't really work that way. So I'm going to have to do it for the first 5 episodes. Alright, so we'll start with the first episode, which is Separate Tides. Overall, we'll do a little overall before we get into the actual parts of the episode, but overall it was a really good premiere. It introduced a couple new characters, brought in some things that are going to be lasting throughout the whole season, so this is overall a really good start to the whole season, the whole second season. And I guess I'll start with the opening here. So what I liked about this opening here was it was basically the same exact open from season 1, where Azura uses like a rocket launcher magic thing to shoot a giant snake, and instead this is Luz shooting like this tiny little demon. Well, the shadow kind of showed it to be a bigger demon, but it was really just like a little tiny one. And they're collecting a bounty to make money because, everybody kind of knows at this point that Ida doesn't really have powers anymore and all that stuff, and she's on the run, so all that. And then a great part was that Luz picks up the tiny demon and like King just eats it and then runs away. So that was a pretty good open. So really good to kick off the whole season. So I didn't really know exactly how to start this. I don't know if I'm gonna go B plot and then A plot, or A plot then B plot. I don't know. I'll have to see when I'm editing. But for now, I'm gonna talk about the B plot. This is a pretty good B plot. I mean, it was basically about Lilith. She wanted to make something for Ida because she kind of felt bad for cursing her, and Hootie keeps trying to help Lilith, help her with whatever she wants to do, and Lilith keeps denying it. So she decides to try and make a scrying potion to spy on the Emperor's coven, and just so that they can kind of see what the Emperor's actually been doing and everything. So she goes off to go get fire bee honey for the scrying potion, because apparently that's an ingredient. And Hootie shows up. Lilith doesn't accept his help, and she yells at him, and then she goes in with a stick to attack the fire bees and get the honey, and then she kind of accepts that she can't use magic anymore, like she's not very powerful anymore without her magic, so she calls for help, and Hootie comes in, of course, and he attacks all the bees, and in the end of the episode, and the end of the B plot here, Lilith is making the potion while healing Hootie, and together they grow like this friendship, and it carries on through, spoiler alert, but the first 4 episodes, because it ends for some reason, I'll get to that, and they both give each other nicknames, and now Ida, when Ida comes home, she's able to use the scrying potion to see inside the Emperor's castle, and Lilith basically explains that they're able to do whatever they want because the Emperor's coven guards are just kind of, meandering. They're not really doing a lot, and they're just kind of hanging out in the castle. So Ida is free to do whatever she really wants now. And Lilith and Hootie become like best friends. And like I said, that carries on for a little while. Alright, let's talk A plot here. So, A plot, we start off with Luz recording a video for her mother, and Luz kind of like reviews the whole first season, like everything that really happened, specifically the petrification ceremony and how that affected Ida and all that stuff. And there was this great part where Ida made a spear, because she's just trying to find ways to not have to use her magic for stuff, or that doesn't really sound right. She doesn't have magic anymore, so she tries to make other weapons to just kind of defend herself without magic. And there was this great part where she tells King, "Oh, look, that apple is a hat in front of a target." And King's like, "Really?" And like puts it on his head. And then Luz has to go grab King and save him from Ida throwing a spear at him. So then Ida says that she needs to bring her bounties back to the market to get money and everything. And she goes to the market and she gets scammed. She brings back like a bunch of bounties and she only gets like half a snail, which is currency in that universe. A snail, yeah. And everybody, the whole public kind of found out that Ida is powerless at this point. So she's not really feared anymore. And then there was a part where Lilith was kind of showing off, and she was like, "Oh, my poster's still up. I still strike." I don't remember what she said exactly. I don't think it was fear, but her poster gets burned down. And then the Golden Guard's poster goes up, and the Golden Guard is a new character who's kind of like a public face for the Emperor, while Emperor Belos actually works on rebuilding the door. So that was pretty cool. He's a very cool character, and I'm really excited to get to the part where he actually shows up for real in this episode. So Luz wants to try and challenge herself to go for a bigger bounty, and she goes for the Salkadamas bounty. I hope I said that right, which is the biggest bounty on the list there. And Ida kind of is like, "No, I don't want you going to go after the bigger bounties. Just go after the small ones. You can go after the abominable cutie pie," or something like that. And basically Luz and King just find it, and it's like on a statue, and it wasn't very difficult to get that bounty. And while they're on the statue, Luz overhears Ida and Lilith's conversation about money and how they can't put food on the table because they are spending all their money for food for Luz, because Luz can't really digest a lot of stuff from the boiling isles. So Luz begins to feel guilty, and she decides to go on the Salkadamas hunt on a pirate ship on her own. Unbeknownst to her, the Golden Guard is on the ship with them. Meanwhile, Ida learns a way to make a little bit more cash. We'll get to that later. And back on the ship here, Luz travels by boat with King to get the bounty. And there was like this, I guess you could call it, I think it was kind of like a montage of Luz kind of like taking care of the ship to prove her worth to the captain. And after this montage, a wave hits, and King falls rolls down the side of the pirate ship and lands in the Golden Guard's chambers, and he kind of explores. He's like, "Is that what's the word? It was a Emperor's Coven. I don't remember the word, but it's like the stamp that goes on letters, like the Hogwarts stamp." And the Golden Guard captures King, because the Golden Guard was in his chambers and everything. Or King was in the Golden Guard's chambers. Meanwhile, the ship arrives on the Shimmering Shoals, as the captain calls it, and the Salkadamas attacks the ship, and the crew kind of fights back and everything. Then there's like a giant explosion on the boat, and a thief takes their money, and Luz chases after the thief. When they reach the shore, Luz finds out that the thief is actually just Ida stealing the money, and that was her way of getting a little bit more cash. So, but later on, the Golden Guard arrives on the shore to meet with Ida and Luz. He introduces himself, and then Ida and Luz attack him. Golden Guard puts Ida and Luz over the boiling sea, and it just kind of shows off the power that the Golden Guard has. He seems very powerful. So, the Golden Guard makes Ida and Luz slay the Salkadamas, and he threatens King, so that's not good, of course. Can't have that happening. So Ida tries to reason with Luz about killing the Salkadamas, because Ida knows that the Salkadamas is a peaceful creature, and that these people are just invading their land. And while they're kind of walking through this cave, Luz just explains that it's her fault for all of Ida's problems, petrification ceremony, and losing her powers, not having money, that whole thing, because when she showed up to the Boiling Isles, all of these situations happened. So basically what happens is Luz fights the Salkadamas, and Ida stops Luz from attacking it at some point. Ida then explains that her life is better when Luz was around because Luz was able to help her with so many different things, like reconnecting with her sister and all of that. So then a baby Salkadamas appears, and then we cut to a golden guard who's teasing King. That's not allowed in this place. Golden guard, get out of here. You're not allowed to tease King. King is too good for that. So then Luz and Ida, quote unquote, kill the Salkadamas, and Golden Guard gives King back, and he leaves. And then we now learn that Ida has learned the light glyph, which is really cool. So that's good to know that they're starting to set up glyph magic for the group. And then, the Salkadamas isn't actually dead. They didn't actually kill it, so Ida tells it to leave the place because it's in danger now. And it vomits grease that Ida can apparently sell. So, yeah, that was kind of disgusting. And she took a handful of it and threw Luz into it, but it's like vomit grease. It's kind of disgusting. But yeah, that was mainly our A plot. And then I just want to talk about the ending real quick, and then we can move on to episode 2. Alright, I just want to do a quick chat about the ending of episode 1, where we see Emperor Belos, and it seems like he finished building the portal door, which is crazy. That's huge. And we saw this actually in the trailer, where Belos goes, I want to say he puts his mask on and he goes knock knock human, So what is he going to do when he gets to the human world? That's not going to be good. I'm very worried about that. And I wonder if that's going to be a season 3 thing. Because if you didn't know, you probably already know. But if you didn't know, season 3 is only going to have 3 45-minute episodes, I think. So my guess is that those 3 long episodes are going to be the finale. So my guess is that Belos kind of brings his army into the human world, and maybe I'll make a video talking about my speculations for later this season along with season 3, but we'll get to that. Alright, now that we got episode 1 taken care of, let's move on to episode 2. Wow, I mean, this episode was amazing. All of the Lumity moments were great. New characters, Principal Bump, we'll get to that. This whole episode was perfect. It was so good. And I'm really excited to get into it, so I'm going to do it right now. Let's just get right into it. Here we go. Alright, I'm going to start with just talking about the opening of this episode. And basically what we got is a Blight Industries private sale with Odalia and Alador Blight. Amity is what's the word? Not testy, but I don't know what the word is, but she was just kind of working with the product, and she was just kind of showing it off to the crowd. So basically, Odalia announces the new Abomaton, which is a robot made of abomination magic, and Odalia just kind of tells the whole crowd about what the Abomaton can do, and while Amity is fighting it, because that was kind of something that the Abomaton can do, it can defend against enemies and everything. While Amity was fighting it, a picture, the Grom photo of Willow, Gus, Luz, and Amity together falls out of her sleeve. So then she destroys the Abomaton and takes the photo back after she made a deal with Odalia. If Amity makes it look good, then she'll be excused for her lackluster performance or whatever. I don't know. Odalia is literally a terrible person, so that's just what we'll go with. Alright, let's talk B-plot. Overall, it's a pretty simple B-plot. There's nothing too crazy here, but essentially, Luz has a magic boot camp, and she's trying to teach Lilith and Ida how to use glyphs. Lilith, of course, is a star-studded student at this point. Ida is I'm gonna break the rules student. Not the best student. And basically what happens is Hootie has to take Luz to school, so she leaves King in charge and Lilith and Ida to work on her studies with glyphs. And Ida tries to learn glyphs her own way while Lilith is following the rules, and Lilith is succeeding, Ida is not. And then Ida makes a glyph pyramid at some point, and that doesn't work. Ida searches for a way to continue to kind of combine the glyphs while Lilith has mastered the glyph combination basics. And there was this great scene between them and Hootie, Lilith and Hootie, and Lilith has ice cream or ice pops, made like a Hootie ice statue, a Hootie like ice crown. I don't know, all this ice stuff for Hootie. So just solidifying their friendship. And then, like I said, while Lilith has mastered glyph combinations, Ida is just stubborn in finding her own way to make different combinations with glyphs. And Ida makes what she calls a super glyph. And the super glyph doesn't go right, of course. And a giant ice spike shell starts to grow. And Ida doesn't want any of Lilith's help because she's stubborn. King gets taken into the ice shell, and then finally Ida just is like, all right, Lilith, I need your help, whatever. And later on, there was actually a cut there, but later on, Lilith explains to Ida about her philosophy on glyphs and how she saved King, and just how glyphs are actually supposed to be combined. And she kind of compares them to words. So if you draw 3 glyphs on the same point, I guess I'm not explaining this right, but I hope you guys understand what I'm trying to say. It would be like screaming 3 words, where if you draw them kind of separately, you'll be screaming 3 different words at different times. I probably didn't explain that right. I hope you understand. If you watch the episode, you'll know. Let's just go with that. So, at the end of the episode, Lilith makes an ice statue for Luz for extra credit, and then Ida tries, and she just makes like a little ice cube that falls on the ground. Still gets extra credit. They all get extra credit, and that was basically the side B plot. But now we're going to move on to the A plot. All right. So basically, our A plot here is there was a part in the B plot where Hootie takes Luz to school. So now the A plot basically begins where Luz is at school after the petrification ceremony. So this is her first day after, and when she gets into the school, she sees Willow and Gus. Gus is older and has witch puberty, apparently, where he's like, in a matter of like a week or 2, he's now much older. So that was a good way to explain it. Of course, the actor is older now, so that's a good way to explain it, I guess. But it was very weird to see Gus older. We spent a whole season with him, like a little bit like high-pitched voice, little short kid, and now he's older, and he's almost as tall as Willow, I think. Pretty crazy. But basically, Amity shows up and gives Luz a homemade fairy pie in honor of her return. So that was very sweet. Of course, the Lumity moments, gotta have them. And then Odalia and Alador take over the loudspeaker and make Luz, Gus, Amity, and Willow go to Principal Bump's office. While they're there, Odalia explains why she wants Luz, Gus, and Willow expelled. And they get expelled. Willow and Gus freak out about their parents finding out, while why do I keep messing up Luz's name? Oh my god. Alright. I think I keep saying Gus and like Luz at the same time, and it's messing me up. Luz confronts Odalia while Odalia is walking out of the school, and Odalia hands Luz a business card, or a Blight Industries business card. And later, and I think there's actually a cut there, and it goes to the B plot for a second, and then there's another cut where we go, and this cut leads into a montage of Luz, Gus, and Willow trying to enter Hexside again as Principal Bump gets like sadder and sadder. So, like the first time, Principal Bump is like frowning, and then the second time, Principal Bump is like ready to cry, and then the third time, Principal Bump actually cries, and he's like, school is so boring without them. There's like nothing happening. There's no events happening anymore. So that was pretty funny. And then after this montage, almost, kind of a montage, I don't know what you would really call it, but after this point, like these speaker birds take Gus and Willow away after their parents find out about them being expelled. And then Amity shows up and finds Luz, and they talk about Odalia, and Amity has to leave after the bell rings. And Luz kind of like, finds her the Blight Industries business card on the ground. She's like, I have to go to the Blight Mansion. So she goes to the Blight Mansion, and she is greeted by an abomination butler, which she kind of like molds the face of the butler into a cat. It seems it's a very Luz thing to do. Makes sense. So now Luz is going to be the I don't know what the word is. Not testy. Basically what Amity did, just kind of like showing off the catalog for the evening. That's basically what Luz is doing. The word is escaping my mind right now. I apologize. So Luz is that person instead of Amity for the Blight Industry Showcase, and that was kind of like Odalia and Luz's deal that they made, so that Gus and Willow could get back into Hexside. So then Alador kind of explains to Luz that they specialize in weapons, and Luz basically has to just endure all of these weapons in order to kind of complete the deal. So then Amity goes home and finds out Luz is the replacement. Not good. And she finds out because she sees the Abomination Butler molded into a cat. Of course, we all know Luz would do that, so she figures it out pretty quickly. Meanwhile, there's like a little cut here. Willow's dads apparently quit their jobs to teach Willow, which is crazy. And then Willow sneaks out to join Amity and Gus in saving Luz. And there was this great moment where Willow goes towards the window to open it, and one of Willow's dads, I don't think we know their names yet. I don't think we do, because I don't want to just keep calling them Willow's dads. I'd rather call them their names. But either way, you get the point. One of Willow's dads opens, kind of like peeks through the door and is like, Willow, and Willow's like escaping, and her dad was like, gave her a thumbs up and just kind of left, or like winked or something. So that was a pretty nice moment. But basically what happens is Willow sneaks out to join Amity and Gus in saving Luz. And then Amity, Willow, and Gus argue about how they're going to sneak into the actual building, while Emma and Edric actually help out, and they give Amity, Willow, and Gus cloaks to kind of sneak in. Then there was this funny moment where Edric puts Hex Me signs on their backs, and Amity catches them and everything, of course. So then, meanwhile, Luz is still at the showcase, and she has to take on the Abomaton 2.0, which shows up. And then Amity, Willow, and Gus see Willow and Gus get like caught by the Abomination guards while Amity climbs a ladder up to the, what are those things called? Rafters or something? I forget. I forget. But she climbs up to that top area, and so she can go and try and save Luz, while Luz fights the Abomaton. Luz basically says, all right, I get the point. That this thing's crazy strong. I think they understand. And then Odalia goes like crazy and basically just says that the Abomaton won't stop till its enemy is killed or defeated, whatever. Basically meaning Odalia is completely okay with killing Luz, which is crazy. So the fight continues between Luz and the Abomaton. And the Abomaton almost kills her, but then Amity saves her. Lumity moments, here we go. And Amity breaks her mother's oracle crystal. So basically, I forgot to explain this in the beginning. Sorry about that. But basically, Amity has a crystal that wraps around her neck like a necklace, and it basically allows Odalia to telepathically speak to Amity. So she basically tears that off and breaks it so that she doesn't have to listen to Odalia anymore, or her mother anymore. And then she fights the Abomaton, and of course she is a abomination track magician or witch, so she's able to kind of actually take down the Abomaton pretty well. And then she kind of explains to Odalia that she just wants her to stop being a problem. She just wants her to stop. Just leave her alone. She has friends. She just wants to be with her friends, And then Luz and Amity prepare to kind of fight the Abomaton together, and they blush. Good Lumity moments, of course. I know I keep saying that, but it's great to see. And then the Abomaton uses a hammer to, quote-unquote, destroy Luz and Amity after Odalia and Amity make a deal that Odalia will let Luz, Gus, and Willow go to school or go back to Hexside as long as they make this look good. So, like I said, the Abomaton uses a hammer to destroy Luz and Amity, but obviously they didn't. And then Odalia kind of cheats the deal and is just like, nope, never mind. You really thought I was going to let you guys go back to Hexside and whatever. So, but then Alador comes in, and I'm going to have a whole section for Alador probably right after this. So be prepared. But I'm going to get to that part. I just want to highlight this little ending part, and then I'm going to talk about the Alador section, because I have a lot to say about him. He's really cool. So, basically at the very end of the episode, oh, this is so jumbled up. I apologize if it's just like all weird and it's all out of order, but here we go. All right, sorry. I kind of sidetracked for a second. Golden Guard comes in at the end, and he basically buys every Abomaton that Odalia and Alador have, and he basically says that the Emperor will fund the creation of more Abomatons to make them stronger and everything. And he says this, like, I don't know if it's exactly quoted, but he says this quote where he basically is like, the Emperor does not take kindly to civilians making an army, which is very interesting. So I don't know if the Emperor is really afraid of it. I think he's just like, just in case maybe he's afraid of it. I don't know. Maybe it'll be answered in the future of the season. Because I think we know that, or at least my guess is, the Coven leaders, this is not from the episode or anything, this is just like my speculation. The Coven leaders, which are supposed to show up this season, are, my guess is that they're probably going to go against Emperor Bellows at some point. Oh, that'd be going to be a really cool fight. Could you, like, I don't know if you guys seen the trailer or not, but there's they basically show off the Coven leaders and all their different abilities. I think there's like 9 or 10 of them, maybe. I don't actually remember how many Covens there are. I know, right? Fake fan. But, no, I'm kidding. But, I want to see the Coven leaders go against Bellows. That'd be a really cool fight. Just like just all of them going against like a super powerful, ultra powerful Bellows. That'd be crazy. Either way, sorry, that was a little off-track speculation, but, yeah, so that was basically the episode, or at least the A-plot. Really good, again, it was really, really good. So now I want to talk about Alador. Alright, quick Alador Blight section here, because I love this character. He was probably the highlight of this episode for me. He gives me kind of Entrapta vibes from She-Ra. The Netflix one, the newer one. He kind of gives me that, but he's much more quieter. He's not like he's less enthusiastic. He's more quiet, but he's great. He's awesome. He just does random stuff. He's so interested in his work and just learning about other creatures that he just kind of like spaces out into like his own world, just trying to learn about some creature. And, like, there was just some, like, great moments with him where he's, like, I think he had a tough time trying to take off his cloak in the beginning, like, the opening. And when he was in the Principal Bump's office telling, Amity and Luz and Gus and Willow that they're going to get expelled, he was, like, playing with Principal Bump's tail on his helmet, or not helmet, his mask, or mask demon, whatever it is. I don't even think we know what it is yet. And then there was another moment where, like, he plays with a butterfly and everything. Although Adalia crushes it, of course. And then Alador, like, works on the Abomatrons and everything. He's, like, throwing stuff all over his lab and everything, like a mad scientist. But I think what's really great is that even though it seemed like Alador was kind of he just kind of followed whatever Odalia said, at the end, it really seems like he doesn't, actually. Because there was this moment where Odalia was gonna, like, cheat the deal that they made, and Alador was like, no, he disagreed with Odalia trying to kill Luz. He was like, Luz is right, maybe you should kind of calm it down a little bit. And then, he basically tells Odalia no when she was trying to cheat the deal that she made with Amity, and he was basically saying, like, Odalia, you made a deal with your daughter, and you shouldn't break that. Amity could be a Coven head leader someday with the amount of strength that she's displaying with her abomination abilities. And then, of course, after he chases a butterfly, makes complete sense. That's Alador's great. All right, moving right along here, we got episode 3, Echoes of the Past. This is a King episode. This is our King backstory episode. It is really sad. It is so sad, but it's really good. It's a great story. I don't even think there was a B plot. I think there was just straight, like, just one plot that they completely followed the entire episode. So that was really cool. But yeah, that very, very sad episode, and it was tough. It was tough. It was like, oh man, that's really, I feel bad for him, But of course, spoilers. So, yeah, we'll get into it now. All right, we'll start with our open here. And we start with like this flashback to acid rains, which we were shown in season 1, with the I forget what the episode was called, but it was where Ida turns into the owl beast for the first time in front of Luz and King. But basically, yeah, acid rains and young Ida is running to some ruins, and she explores them. And kind of at the end of the open, a POV shot enhances on young Ida, and it kind of sounds like someone's running towards her. So there's not really a B plot in this episode, so I think we'll just get right into the A plot here. So basically, we start off, Luz is drawing glyphs while King is distracting her. And then Lilith goes crazy while learning glyphs, and Hootie has to take care of her. I think Lilith, like I said, I think for last episode, complete star-studded student, just trying to do her best and more the whole time. But she's taking it a little too far. She's getting a little too crazy, and like Hootie brings her coffee and everything, so that was really nice. Luz learns an invisibility glyph, and it seems like the deal with that one is that however long you hold your breath, you can be invisible for. That I'm totally going to be used. It's totally going to be used later on. So they're just kind of working with glyph combinations, and Lilith walks over and trips over one of King's stuffed animals, and King throws a stuffed animal that Hootie steps, or I guess not steps, he doesn't really have legs, but goes in front of to protect Lilith, and then he dies in her arms from the stuffed animal. And then I don't know if this was said in the first season, but Lilith is like the head history scholar at the Emperor's Coven or something like that. So that was really interesting. That was good to know. And then King kind of explains his backstory on being the Demon King, or King of Demons, however you want to say it. Although he can't remember his past very well, and Lilith doesn't really believe him. Luz tells Lilith and Hootie to play along with King's story, even though no one really believes it. And King decides that he's going to prove to everybody that it is true. And they're going to go to his castle. So then there was this scene, although they didn't show it, they just kind of showed the Luz, King, and Lilith's reactions of Hootie becoming Porta Hootie, and it's like he just kind of like takes his body out of the door of the house. From the noises and from the reactions, it was clearly disgusting, but it was funny, so I'll take that. Basically, they go off, and then there's a kind of like, it's cut to Ida coming out of the shower and just kind of lying down and seeing King's note about going to the castle, and she's like, oh no, not again, and then she runs out, and I think she like grabs like a flying bathtub and flies away. Meanwhile, Luz, Hootie, King, and Lilith travel to King's castle, and when they land, Lilith is like, oh my god, this island isn't even on any maps. And then the four of them travel to the entrance of King's castle. That's just what I'm going to call it, because I don't really know exactly what it was actually called. But basically they explore the outdoor like ruins of it, and Lilith kind of sees like these different markings and things, and she's like, oh my god, I've never seen this before. This is, I think she said like before, like a different language, I believe it was, something along those lines. But the group enters the castle and uses light glyphs to see, and they kind of explore it, and like the shadow thing crawls by them, just kind of goes by them. Meanwhile, Lilith is admiring the carvings of King, or a King of Demons. So then she starts to believe that King is actually the King of Demons. Meanwhile, Luz actually sees a hole in the ceiling, and then after that, I know there's a lot of like, I'm saying like meanwhile, because they keep like kind of going back and forth. Hootie and Lilith are starting to like believe King, and they're like, oh, tell us more. Meanwhile, Luz explores these noises that go deeper into the castle, and she kind of enters like this room with a bunch of statues, and she sees one of the statues is missing. Lilith, Hootie, and King explore or kind of examine these different carvings on the walls that seem to depict like this battle where the King of Demons, I think he was throwing like a spear at some other creature, but yeah. And then what I call, I actually don't remember the name, I haven't looked it up, I don't even know if there is a name, but I call it the King's Castle Guardian. Quite a mouthful, but the kind of like the guardian that was used to protect King, spoiler alert, although we're going to get to that anyway, so it doesn't really matter. The King's Castle Guardian kind of attacks them, and Ida comes in and saves them from it, and then we learn that the Guardian can't get past the actual entrance to the building, to the castle. So then King finds out that Ida hasn't told him the truth, the full truth. So Ida tells King that he really isn't the king of demons, and King freaks out because he knows he isn't a king anymore. You know, that's like, he spent his whole life growing up thinking that he was a king of demons, that he had insane feasts and many subjects, and he learns that it was kind of all made up. So then we get to this part here, and it just kind of talks about, it's basically Ida just explaining King's backstory, so I'm just going to kind of talk about that for a second as well. So basically, this is basically all a flashback, by the way. Ida goes for shelter in King's castle to get away from the acid rains, which we saw in the opening. And this person who was running towards young Ida was actually a baby king. And he shows up in front of Ida. He was very cute, and he had 2 horns at this point. And then basically young Ida and baby King escape the Guardian, and King is hit by, I forget what actually happened, but I want to say the Guardian kind of like threw something at them, and he falls off, and his horn breaks off. But they escape the Guardian either way, and Ida brings King to the Owl House, and Ida says that King is a king among his subjects, and she explains what a king is to baby King. I know a lot of the use of the word king here, and that's just kind of where King got his fantasy that I'm sorry I keep saying this, that he was a king. Lots of king. It's a king episode. It's king. Anyways, after this explanation, King runs away, and the group chases after him, and they split up, and loses the one to actually find King. King has a hard time accepting that he isn't the king of demons. I keep using king, I'm sorry. I have to think of another word. I'll try and do that really quick. But he basically breaks down and just freaks out that he's not actually of royalty. We'll go with that one. Of royalty anymore. And he kind of starts to accept it. And then they reconvene with the group, or reconnect with the group. And he seems to be mad at Ida, but then there was this nice scene where he just kind of boops Ida on the nose and just says, "No more secrets." Ida agrees, and then they go back to King's castle. In order to take down the Guardian, they make Hootie like a rocket launcher of explosive potions. So that was pretty interesting. And the group kind of attacks the Guardian, and then they fly, using their staffs, they fly up the hole in the ceiling, leading them to another large room. And then as the Guardian climbs back up, King kind of goes against a wall and touches apparently an entrance to a door, which opens up, and then they close it. And they see that King's eggshells sit in the middle of the room, and this is basically where King was born. So the Guardian was made to guard King, and he tells Ida that he's ready. King tells Ida that he's ready. And Ida gives King his horn back. He puts it on, and he's like, "Oh my god, I have all my memories back," that type of thing, or most of them. But he goes, "I heard a large roar. Sorry, wait. Let me try that again. He heard a large roar. There we go. and when he was born, the Guardian was made to protect him. So the Guardian brought him down the ceiling hole in this like backstory piece." And King says the roar meant son, meaning that was King's dad who was roaring. So we'll have to see him hopefully in another episode in the later seasons. And now King wants to search for his dad, who's missing, and glues King's horn back onto his helmet. And she tucks him in goodnight. And we kind of end with Ida, Luz, and Lilith examining the carving pictures that Lilith took using a camera from Hootie. Yeah, that was a lot. That was a huge, huge episode. Very important. All right, continuing on the list here, we have Keeping Up Appearances, which is episode 4. This episode, I mean, it was cool to see Ida and Lilith's mom. I mean, I think compared to the other 3, this one might be my least. No, This was kind of, I thought this actually was better than episode 1, because it was just kind of like more informative. A lot more happened, although episode 1 was still great, don't get me wrong. But yeah, this one was fine. I mean, it was a lot of it seemed like a kind of like a non-important episode until you kind of got to like an ending, the ending part where it was insanely important. So, you know what it actually kind of felt like? And I actually use this comparison a lot when I'm talking to my friends about other shows and things, is that episode of WandaVision with where like at the end we learn that Agnes is actually Agatha. Like that whole beginning part of that episode, it wasn't really too much crazy stuff going on, but then at the end it was like, oh man, that was crazy. That's what this episode kind of felt like to me, but it was still good. Like it was still enjoyable. Like the you always kind of need like some of those more calm episodes when you're having all like the story brought on, especially with the last episode's very emotional plot. This kind of brought it down a few notches, kind of let you recollect yourself, I guess you could say. But it was still great. It was still a fun episode to watch, and that ending, like I said, we'll get to that, but it was insane. It was very scary. It's very, very worrying. Very worried for the rest of the season because it could get crazy. So, we'll start with our open here. Ida basically describes her curse dream to her mother and a healer, and this is also a flashback to when she was young, by the way. I wanted to mention that. And then the healer, so this is basically like a doctor in their universe because he's a part of the healing coven. So the healer gives a gem to measure her curse, and that's what Ida always wears on her chest, is that gem which kind of measures the curse. So then the healer and Ida's mother walk out of the room, and Ida's mom kind of yells at the healer, being like, "You don't know how to heal my daughter," whatever. And the healer is like telling Ida's mother, who we don't know her name at this point. Well, actually, I'll just say her name, Gwen. That's Ida's mother's name. The healer tells Gwen that he's never seen a curse like this before, and he doesn't know how to cure it because he doesn't know what it is at all. So then, young Ida kind of runs away from their house, and she trips over a portal, the portal door, which is very interesting. And she goes through the portal door to escape her mother, and Ida's mother Gwen, says that she will find a way to cure her no matter what it takes. So that was our open, but I also just want to mention, that is how Ida got the portal door. So, there has to be a reason to why the portal door was in that spot. Like, they have to explain that. They just can't leave that open. Like, it wasn't just, like, it didn't just go, wasn't just there. There's totally going to be an explanation for it, and I think there will be because, we'll get to that next episode, but next episode there's a part where it kind of, it explains a lot. It gives me, I'll just talk about it when we get to episode 5, but for now, there needs to be a reason for why that portal door was kind of buried in that dirt it was in the dirt for a little second, and then she grabbed it and she went through the portal. That was our open. That was my overall thoughts for the episode. Let's get into our only plot, really, our A plot, which is, there's no really B plot for this episode, but yeah, let's get into it right now. All right. A plot time. So, basically, we start with the episode. Ida waking up. She drinks an elixir. She gets a new clothing look, new appearance for Ida, and then she searches for a way to cure the curse, or loses searching for a way to cure the curse. And apparently, she stayed up all night reading books to try and learn about Ida's curse. And she kind of has like this little discussion with Ida about it at the table in their kitchen, I guess. And then Lilith goes through what I call the curse attack, where she was basically, the curse was kind of taking over her, and she was getting, like, the feathers on her arms and everything, and Ida grabs an elixir and gives it to Lilith. And then there was a joke part where Lilith's hand falls off, and he's like, oh, yeah, that's just a side effect of the elixir, of the curse and everything. So, we learn that Ida put elixirs all over the owl house, which is good, just in case anybody has a curse attack. And then Ida explains to Luz about how she found the door for, like, not really a flashback, just kind of like mentioned it. And then Gwendolyn Clawthorne shows up in what Luz called, I think, a bird tornado. And this is Ida's mother, of course. Gwendolyn kind of talks to Ida, and she seems more focused on Ida, and mainly just kind of disregards Lilith when Lilith was like, "Oh, mother, it's great to see you," that whole thing. And then Gwendolyn says that she can cure Ida. And Ida says, nope, I'm good. And then sends Gwendolyn away on her staff. And then Lilith and Luz kind of freak out and are like, Ida, what are you doing? You were literally handed a cure on a silver platter for the curse. And Ida was like, whatever, and all this. And then Luz chases after Gwendolyn. And then they kind of talk about Ida, and Gwen tells Luz that if she can help cure Ida, that Gwen will tell Luz her, but I'm trying to think of the word here. I guess her, what she knows about trying to find a way to get Luz back home. So Luz and Gwen travel to find a spiritual healer, or not a spiritual healer. It was the curse expert. That's what it was. I have a note sheet here that I'm just kind of like reading off to remember, and I guess I wrote spiritual healer. My bad. Curse expert. So they find this guy who's like the master traveling curse expert guy, and Gwen brings the master materials to help find a way to cure Ida, and the master gives Gwen a book of like this power to cure Ida, and apparently it has information in it that can actually cure her. So the Gwen and Luz prepare a trap for Ida by enticing her with signs that say apple's blood this way, because of course Ida is obsessed with apple's blood. And then meanwhile, Lilith kind of vents to King about her mother and how her mother doesn't really pay attention to her, while Luz and Gwen continue to prepare a trap for Ida. And we learn that Gwen is the master traveling curse expert's pupil. And Ida is lured to the trap. Ida is attacked by falling crystals, because apparently that's what the book said. And then Gwen and Luz follow the book's teachings. And then King and Lilith vent about their parental problems more, because King talks about his dad. Now his dad was never there, because clearly there's a reason for that, and there's so much to be answered. We still have a whole season, so there's a lot more episodes, there's a lot more stuff to be answered. I'm very excited. Either way, Lilith kind of gets jealous of Ida, because Gwen keeps paying her more attention, and Lilith becomes an owl beast, because somebody stole the elixirs, and she just got stressed about it. And like I said, somebody stole the elixirs. Ida has a tough time trying to get to this apple blood from the traps. All these traps are happening, and all she wants is the apple blood. She's not going to get it, obviously. And Luz starts to kind of disbelieve in this curse expert's teachings in this book. So she takes the book and tells Gwen that she's being scammed. Gwen stole all the elixirs, we find out. Ida finds Luz and Gwen, and she gets angry, causing her to become the Owl Beast as well. King arrives with Owl Beast Lilith not far behind. Lilith and as Owl Beasts fly away and fight each other. So much happened in that part. Luz and King fly after Ida and Lilith. Meanwhile, Gwen confronts the master traveling curse expert guy and finds out that they're just a bunch of little goblins who are scamming people. And she uses Gwen uses her magic to scare these little creatures away. And meanwhile, Lilith and Ida are fighting as owl beasts in the town of Bonesborough, I believe. So Luz tries to get elixirs from Morton, which we know from season 1, he's kind of like the potion salesman, but she doesn't have any money, so he doesn't really accept. Owl Beast, Lilith, and Ida, like I said, continue to fight. Meanwhile, Gwen confronts them finally, and Ida runs away from her dream Owl Beast, which we saw in the opening. There was the dream Owl Beast kind of chased her, and she would run away. But now that Ida is kind of hearing her mother's voice and telling her that she's all right, Ida got some confidence to stand up to it, and stopped it from attacking her. And she's not afraid of her dream Owl Beast anymore, and she's now able to control her own Owl Beast. So then Luz pours elixir into Lilith and Ida, and Ida's Owl Beast form mouths, which cures them. I'm just trying to explain this because I usually don't show my face. I just kind of do like a background, just almost like a podcast, I guess you could say, but I'm just trying to explain this as best I can. But Lilith leaves with Gwen, at the end of the episode. I know I keep getting off track. I'm talking a lot. I'm getting all jumbled up at times. We'll continue though. So basically at the end, Lilith decides that she's going to leave with her mother, Gwen, to reconnect with her and reconnect with their father. Ida and Lilith's father, that is. We never saw him in the flashbacks or anything, so hopefully we'll see him this season, because I'm actually curious to see their father's relationship as well. So then, of course, this horrible moment. Hootie freaks out because Lilith is leaving, and Lilith goes like, "Oh, don't worry, we can be pen pals." And Hootie's like, "I can't hold a pen," and just starts crying. So poor Hootie, losing his best friend ever. And basically at the very end of the episode, I guess, Gwen kind of talks with Luz and just saying that Luz is not the only human who ever lived in Bonesboro. And there's this thing called, like, Titan's blood, I think she called it, which causes leaks between both worlds. And, sometimes trash can fall through, that type of stuff. But this time a human fell through at one point, which is extremely rare. And she tells Luz that there can be answers in the library, which sets us up for next episode. All right, episode 4, Keeping Up Appearances, ending. Wow. So let me just explain what happened. So basically, we cut to the human world, and Luz's mother, I'm totally blanking on her name right now. Yeah, I don't remember her name. Sorry. Luz's mother is crying, and we all think it's because of Luz, but she's just watching a show, I think like an animal documentary, and she's like, "Oh, I get so sad, whatever, I'm watching these things." And Luz hands her a box of tissues. Yeah, Luz is not in the human world at all. So we've come to suspect Evil Luz. Evil Luz is real. Because I remember there was a Twitter post I think somebody from the show made, and they were like, "Oh yeah, Evil Luz was always kind of like this joking type thing." I don't think it's joking anymore. I think it's for real now. This is crazy. And judging by some of the there was some descriptions for later episodes that are supposed to come out later on. There was this whole, I think there was a description for one of the episodes, I think it was Eclipse Lake, where it was like Luz prepares to go home, but she's not like prepared for what's going to happen on the other side. I don't know exactly what it was. Something like that. But yeah, it's totally going to be Evil Luz. It's totally going to be Luz versus Evil Luz, and Luz's mom's going to go crazy and all this stuff. On top of that, there was a live stream that Dana Terrace did. I think it was, I forget actually what it was for. I think it may have been to celebrate the end of season 1 or something. I forget. I actually forget. But either way, she did 2 truths and a lie. So the 3 options were Hootie leaves the Owl House, Gus becomes older, and Luz's mom fights something, or fights Luz or something. I don't remember exactly what it was, but this could totally be it. Or like Luz's mom fights a demon or something. I don't remember what exactly was, but like that is totally going to be it. So all 3 of those things are just definitely going to become true. They have to become true, especially with all these setups. I mean, we already know that Hootie left the Owl House. What was the other ones? Hootie leaves the Owl House. Oh, Gus gets older. Gus is older now. He's witch puberty. And now, Luz's mom is going to fight something. Evil Luz. Totally going to be it. God, that's so freaky. I'm very excited, and I'm also very, scared, because I don't want anything bad to happen. But, it could go very wrong. So, yeah, crazy ending again. But now I'm going to move on to the final episode in this lineup here, which is episode 5. So we'll get right into that. All right, last episode to talk about here. We are talking about episode 5, Through the Looking Glass Ruins. Favorite episode by far, I think. No. I don't know. That's tough. Maybe I have to rank these at some point. Maybe when the season's over, I'll rank all the episodes. I'll put them in a tier list or something, but this is awesome. This was great. Lumity moments like crazy, first off. That was a big piece of the episode. It was just mainly a lot of the Lumity moments, and then the ending was crazy, of course. I'll get it all into that. But so I don't know which is which is the B plot, which is the A plot, because both plots were pretty. I think I would say that were actually separated like pretty evenly. So you know what? I'll make what I'm gonna call the less important plot the B plot, and we'll talk about that first. But again, we'll get to that first. But opening first. Opening, pretty simple. Gus hurt Willow with these like pixies or something. I think they were illusions, and Gus hurt Willow with them, and kind of Willow was calling Gus and just being like, "Hey, it's all right, I'm cool, but can you take all these illusions that you sent over to me away? They're kind of annoying," that type of thing. That was basically our opening. It wasn't anything too crazy, but yeah, we'll get into our I guess B plot. All right. B plot time. So we'll go with this plot. All right. So B plot. Gus the Illusion Master. That's who Gus is here. And basically, Luz knocks on Gus's door, and he's like, "Hey, can I?" Or like I think actually Gus already knew when Luz showed up, and Gus basically said, "You want my library card to see Amity," which was great, very very sweet. And as they're walking, I want to say through Bonesboro, these new students take down like the beast from season 1, I think. Oh yeah, the beast from season 1. It was the I don't remember the episode. It was like the snow beast from I think Amity, Edric, Emera were in it, and they were all kind of like they were on like the knee, which is like a mountain, I guess. Don't remember the episode name, but it was that beast. And these new students we learn later on are from Glandis High, which is the opposing school to Hexside. Were able to use their powers to take down that beast. Mathalamule, who is a character, of course, from season 1, who is kind of like Gus's arch nemesis, was also a part of the Glandis High group, and they were helping take down. He was helping, well, kind of helping take down the monster. He's more of like the kid who gets pushed around by them, which is sad, but he's not even that. He's a mean guy. So it's fine, whatever. So he's with this new students group, and this group kind of talks about the Galder Stones, or something like that. I think I have that right. Which are protected by a guardian. So Luz basically tells Gus that like, oh no, you are a super witch, to try and help him prove to these Glandis kids that he's good. He does a lot. He's good. He's very powerful. And she gives Gus glyphs to use just in case he wants to show off some of his ultimate power. So we learn that the Galder Stones can cause power boosts. So your powers can be enhanced. They can be stronger. And as they're traveling, Gus uses a glyph fireball to impress the group and like burn down some of the stuff in the way. And then there's like a whole other part where Gus saves Mathalamule, kind of like, nonchalantly. He's kind of showing off, oh, I can do this easy. And then they go to the temple, or not the temple, but the ruins. I know I'm moving a little bit fast here, but basically the other plot has a lot of other stuff there too. So I'm just getting to almost like the end of this part here. But they get to these ruins, and they find the Galder Stones, and their power grows. They get stronger, and Gus learns that it's an illusionist graveyard. And the Glandis kids kind of go against Gus after he says, like, maybe we shouldn't be stealing these people's stones, because this was kind of like their, graveyard stones. This is where they were resting, So there was a guardian, of course, there's always a guardian. An illusionist graveyard guardian attacks Gus and the group, and he uses an illusion to try and scare the guardian away. And it turns out that this guardian is just a keeper of the looking glass, and he's an illusionist. Glandis kids go against Gus and attack them, the looking glass keeper, who becomes a friend to Gus, and Gus as well. And the Glandis kids take the stones. Mathalamule saves Gus. Character development, of course. And then one of the Glandis kids, called Angmar, I believe, is lured with a butterfly because Angmar is a plant track. I'm totally blanking on the name of the track, but I believe it's the plant stuff, and is just very interested in the creatures. So, lured away with a butterfly, And then another one of the Glandis kids, Gavin, is lured with his father because originally, before in the beginning of the episode, he kind of talks about his dad. And then to scare the final Glandis kid, who's like this girl, I actually didn't catch her name, but he makes like this huge illusion. He basically makes the whole graveyard an illusion, and all like the statues are crying blood. It gave me that episode of Gravity Falls, the Northwest Mystery Mansion, or Mansion Mystery, something like that, where Pacifica and Dipper are under the pool table and like all the animal heads start bleeding and everything. That's what this kind of gave me. My guess is that there was some inspiration for that, because we do know that Alex Hirsch worked on the show, or is the voice of King and Hootie, and probably he did a couple other things. I actually don't know all of his roles in the show, but yes. Gus makes the angels cry blood, and like the girl is attacked by like a stone ruin of herself, and she runs away. Yay, the illusionist graveyard is saved. Gus lays an illusion over the whole graveyard, which we learn, and scares the kids away, of course. And then Bartholomew and Gus come back to help, or offer to come back and help the Keeper kind of rebuild his ruins. And now they're starting to develop a friendship. Interesting. Maybe we'll see a lot more of Bartholomew later on throughout the season. That'll be really cool. Yeah, that was mainly our B plot. I mean, if you even want to call it a B plot. I mean, like I said, I think both plots were kind of evenly split up, I would say. But I think this next plot that we're going to talk about is a little bit more important than this one. But this one's still fun. So yeah, we'll get into that next plot now. Alright, so after Luz gives Gus the glyphs, she goes to the library, and she searches for answers about the other human, who's apparently was in Bonesboro at some point in the library, because that's where Gwendolyn told Luz to go. And Luz kind of looks into where Amity usually is, and there was a Amity with her hair down, and it made Luz blush. Luminy moments like crazy this episode, I have to say. They're both blushing and everything, and Edric and Emera kind of make fun of them, and they talk about Edric having a date, which was very cool. And they see that this guy named Philip, like Whittabine, I actually forget how they said his name. He was a human. He was the human in Bonesboro. That was the guy's name. And Amity says that, I bet there's all these old books that we need to find. We can go to the Forbidden Stacks, which is just full of old library books. And Luz kind of holds Amity's hand, being like, thank you so much. They blush. Lots of that in this episode. It's great. So they enter the Forbidden Stacks, and they see this guy called Malthus, and he seems kind of evil. And apparently that's who, he gave Amity her job at the library and everything. And when they're trying to not be seen by Malthus, Amity and Luz kind of, lie down so that they can kind of avoid Malthus's gaze. Blush. Amazing. Luz... So, there was this part where basically they were kind of talking while they were going through the library, and Luz was like, I'll have to show you around the the human world sometime. And that's basically offering a date. Although, I don't think Luz really understood that. And Amity, just makes a face, and that whole thing, that was really great. That was really great. It was very, very sweet. So then Amity and Luz sneak around the library, and then Luz yells, and and Malthus hears her. Malthus figures it out, takes them out of the library, throws them out, and Amity loses her job, which was not a good thing. That was really sad. And basically we cut to Blight Mansion. Emera is talking with Amity as she's brushing her hair, and Amity decides to change her hair color instead of being green because her roots are coming back or whatever she said. And she changed it to a pink color. And there's a knock on the door. It's Luz with Amity's library card, staff, whatever it is. Basically, Amity's getting her job back. And Amity's like, oh my god, how'd you get this? And Luz is like, I went through all these trials just to get it back for you. So it was very nice. And then Luz has one of a mouse on her, and Amity's like, oh, wait a minute. That's a mouse that eats books, it takes knowledge, and it can replay that knowledge. So basically they replay it, and it shows this Philip Whitbean character, and he's like writing down some stuff in like a journal. He's just kind of explaining a few things. That's that's an actual human on Bonesboro besides just Luz, which is crazy. I have a theory for him. I don't know if maybe I should make a video about all my theories. I might do that at some point. And then, that part was crazy already, that we learned that there's a whole other human on here. And, like, we actually get to, like, see kind of, like, a darker figure of him, or outline of him, right? This is where things get crazy. Lumity moments, crazy. So, Luz gets the mouse back, and she's like, oh, we're going to be great friends or something like that. And Amity says something like, you always know how to make your way into other people's hearts. And kisses Luz on the cheek. Finally, it happened. And she, like, recoils, and she's like, oh my god, why did I do that? Why did I do that? And she runs in the house. Oh, man. That was crazy. I was sitting there watching the episode. I'm like, it happened, finally. So, does this mean that Lumity is, like, official? Yeah, like, Amity kissed Luz on the cheek. I think it happened. Lumity's for real now. For real. It has started. Oh, I'm so excited. Okay, yeah. But yeah, that was crazy. She kind of like recoiled, and she was like really like freaking out, like, oh my god, why did I do that? And there was this part where I guess Emma and Edric were watching from the window, and Edric was like, oh, bold move. So it was pretty funny, but absolutely crazy. It's so exciting to see Lumity finally come together. And hopefully this means that they're together officially? I don't know. We'll have to see. But that was crazy once again. Yeah, that was it. That's how they ended it. Was just like Luz was just standing, or like I think she dropped to her knees or something and just kind of stayed there for a minute while Amity like ran in the house. So it was very, very funny, and it was very sweet, and it's amazing to finally see this happen. So yeah, that was basically the plot, the main plot, the important plot in my opinion of this episode. All right, everybody, that was it. I've been talking for like, I want to say like I just looked back at the clock, like an hour and a half straight talking with this video. My voice is destroyed. Thank you so much for watching. If you watched all the way through, thank you so much. I have to go rest my voice because, like I said, I've been talking for an hour and a half. I'm so excited for the rest of the season. I cannot wait. I think I'm going to start doing these kind of like discussion videos for every episode, which comes out every week. We'll have to see. I don't know about next week, though. I might have to do, like, a 2-episode video together for both episodes. But either way, do the common YouTube stuff. Thank you so much for watching. Okay, little side note. Basically what happened was, I was editing. I edited the video. Was about to post it, and it said processing abandoned. Big problem. So I had to try and fix that, and then I had to take a week and a half where I couldn't record or edit because I was doing something else, or I was somewhere else, so I wasn't able to do it. And now I'm back, and now I fixed the problem. But 2 more episodes came out in the time that I was gone, so I'm just gonna add them to this video. Yeah. So you probably just heard me talk about like, oh, I'm gonna post the episode 6 and 7 discussion, in like a week or 2, whatever. No, we're just gonna add to this video. Sorry. We'll get right on that, though. Okay, let me start with Hunting Palisman, episode 6, real quick. We'll start off with our open here. Wow, what a crazy opening. So, we have our Coven leaders entering the Emperor's Coven, throne room. And they kind of talk about the Day of Unity and how that's approaching. And there's a bunch of trailer shots of all the Coven leaders that show up here. And basically what I mean by that is these shots were from the trailer showing off the Coven leaders, which was really cool. Good to see that. The Coven leaders place their emblem things that are usually near their chest into this fire pit thing, and it gives them a vision of the human world and all this crazy stuff of basically what could happen in the Day of Unity. So that was really cool to see. But there's just so much to go over in this whole thing. And even continuing this opening here, we see that Bellows kind of starts coughing, and Golden Guard decides to help him, and he's not really feeling well, and we see Bellows become this, or his hand at least, become this like goop stuff. I don't even. It looked like abomination goop a little bit, but obviously I don't think it is. And he like punches the wall, and he needs more palisman to survive or keep whatever he's got, I guess, at bay, which we saw in the first season. He, I don't know what's the word, takes in palisman essence. I don't know. And then the Golden Guard, we learn, is Bellows' nephew. Okay, and Bellows' family was. My guess is that they were killed because of wild magic. So, that, again, so much to unpack there with that opening. And it's good to know that apparently the Emperor's Coven, the main leaders, I guess, seem to be made up of family members, which is interesting. So yeah, again, crazy opening. So this episode really only has one plot. It's just like a straight A plot. But I also want to quick mention pink hair Amity in the intro. It's different. It looks good. I like it. But yeah, let's get to that A plot real quick. Basically, Luz is taking care of the mouse. She has like a hamster cage or whatever for it. And Ida tells Luz that she's going to get a magic staff today at school. It's like the Palisman Day for the students. And when we get to the school, we learn that Amity stayed home from school, which is interesting. And yeah, there's like a witch's staff and Palisman Day. And we get to see Principal Bump's Palisman, which is his hat, or his like demon helmet. And it helps him see, because we learn that Bump has only one eye. So his Palisman helps him see, which I think is really nice. I think was it Fruin? I forget what the name of it was, but yeah, that was really cool to see. And so basically they have this wood. What is it called? I think I have it written down here in my notes. It's palistrum wood, which is basically used to make palisman. So you can like carve palisman, but I guess there's a shortage of that in the Boiling Isles. So the Bat Queen, who we saw in season 1, who has like a sanctuary, I guess, for abandoned palisman, decides to do a palisman adoption day, which is really nice. And she uses all the palisman from her forest. So that was really cool. Basha is there. We haven't seen her in this season at all. And then we also have Willow gets like a bee-looking palisman. Basha gets a crab-looking one. Viney from season 1, episode 13, the first day, gets something. I don't even know what that was. It's probably just a Boiling Isles creature. Who knows? Gus gets a blue squirrel-looking thing. And then the Spikehead guy, who I believe is a Oracle track, I think, gets like an armadillo-looking thing. So yeah, it was cool to see some characters get their palisman like that. And then Luz goes up to the pit that they have their palisman, and she can't get one because her goal is just to go home. So it's not really a proper goal in the Boiling Isles, so there's no palisman that really connects to her. We also learned from that Luz is from Connecticut. All right, good to know. And I think it was said that Dana Terrace was from Connecticut, and that's kind of why they did that, which is cool. So then we have a red. I think they said the name, and I don't remember it, but I just call it like the red bird, cardinal, palisman, whatever guy. Decides to come home with Luz, and she brings him home on accident. And then Luz walks back because she learns that this cardinal palisman came with her, and she's like, no, I gotta go return it. And she brings it back to like the den that they have that's protected. And then she decides to stay in there until a palisman actually connects with her, sorry. And the Emperor's Coven seals the den with Luz inside. How convenient. How lucky. So then she climbs up to the airship, driven by the Golden Guard, which, another funny little thing, he was whistling the theme, which was really cool. And then they kind of have like this confrontation a little bit. Luz gets tied up, the Golden Guard threatens her, and Luz draws a glyph on the floor, and he's like, and Golden Guard's thrown away. And so the Golden Guard staff is blasted away, and then a monster lands on the ship, causing them to crash. And then when they, wake up from the wreckage, I guess, the Cardinal unties Luz, and then we learn that Kikimora is looking for the remains, thinking the Golden Guard is dead. And then we learn that dragon monster is owned by Kikimora. So Kikimora was literally trying to just kill the Golden Guard. So she staged it all, really. We get a Golden Guard face reveal, although I think there was kind of like a leak of one of the shots from the episode, and we already saw what he looks like, but that's okay. He still looks cool. So then she slaps him, Luz slaps Golden Guard to wake him up, and then they walk through a town. I don't remember what the town was called, but Luz made a remark saying, like, oh, it's very different from Bonesborough and things. So then Golden Guard tries to get to a Emperor's Coven outpost, but he looks too young, and they, the guards there don't let him in. He asks for his staff back from Luz, and which causes him to get angry because she declines, thinking that she's just going to get attacked if he does. And then he uses parkour to get up the wall, or his acrobatics abilities, his training to get up a wall and chase after Luz. And they decide to make a truce to work together. And this is when Luz and Golden Guard kind of have a connection, where Luz shows him glyphs. So he mentions that he has an artificial staff, magic staff. Golden Guard does. So basically, it's interesting to see that Golden Guard doesn't have... it can't actually do magic. His staff just has, like, artificial magic in it. And I wonder if it's because their relatives or ancestors are descendants of Philip Woodabine. Because Philip Woodabine was a human, as far as we know. And if, a human and a magic user have children, then there could be some with magic and some without. So I wonder if this is where that comes from, is that Golden Guard doesn't have any powers because he has more human in him. So glyphs. Oh yeah, we also learned that glyphs might be from the Savage Ages, as Golden Guard begins to say, and then he stops himself and says, "Uh-oh, no, wait, I can't tell you that. You're not a part of the Emperor's Coven." So he seems to be opening up. We might get a redemption arc. I'm thinking that, especially with what we see later this episode. So yeah, like I said, we learned that he's powerless without his staff. Golden Guard and Luz fly up after Kikimora, who's flying on her dragon monster thing, and they save the Palisman. Golden Guard gets ready to actually blast Luz because he's still an Emperor's Coven member. He's still technically considered a villain. And the Golden Guard's name is actually Hunter. We learn that his real name is Hunter. Kikimora wakes up and shoots him. Hunter and Kikimora have a great fight where they use the smoother animation like they did with Agony of a Witch with Lilith versus Ida. So that was really cool to see. I mean, Golden Guard, even though he has artificial magic staff, he seems pretty powerful. He has a lot going on with him. So Hunter defeats Kikimora, and then Ida, when Luz gets home, Ida and King apparently rob the garden club or something like that for Palistrom wood. And now she's able to carve her own palisman. So that's really cool. And I think I saw something going around where Luz might make it like a snake or something, because if you look at the what's it called? Oh my god, the title card, the title, like the Owl House, we see that there's like the or one of the lines, one of the H's, the H has like a line that looks like a staff, and it connects up to lines up to the O, which is an owl. And then if you go to the L, that's a staff piece, and it's lined up with the S in house. Like, I explained that terribly, but I think you understand me. I hope. It could be an S. I've seen that going around a little bit, so I'm curious, but who knows? Could be wrong. So then we go back to the Emperor's Coven, and we see that Golden Guard decides to confront Belos, and then he walks out, and Kikimora's there, and she's like, "Oh, what happened? This whole thing." And she notices that Hunter, or Golden Guard, has a piece of his hair is kind of burned, which happened during the Kikimora versus Hunter fight. So I think she kind of knows that she fought Hunter, which is interesting. So I just wrote this down in my notes as like Golden Guard versus Kikimora within the Emperor's Coven. So there could be some civil war going on there. And then at the end of the episode, the Cardinal Palisman, I don't know his name, I don't know the name, comes into his window, and basically Golden Guard now has the Cardinal Palisman. He has his own magic staff, which is really cool. And that was about it for that whole episode. Okay, episode 7 time. It is Saturday. I just finished watching the episode. So we'll get right into the opening here. We have Ida kind of doing like a checklist of things that she needs to do. And she kind of notices how things have changed with Luz and King around all the time. And she looks outside, and Luz and King are working out. We'll find out why later. And she also learns that King wants to go home with his dad when he meets him. So he's going to leave Ida, and then Luz is going to leave Ida when she finds a way to go back home. So everybody's going to leave Ida alone in the owl house. And then Ida finds her guitar and plays, thinking her magic has returned because like a wave of this, I don't know, yellow magic-looking stuff goes over the whole owl house. Things start to float, but then we learn that the curse is actually manipulating Ida's magic, causing things to be destroyed whenever she plays the guitar, bard, coven, item, whatever. So yeah, that was basically just the opening. It was nothing too crazy, but it definitely got us started for what would be a very good A-plot. But before we get into that A-plot, I want to just talk about the quick little B-plot here, which is Luz, basically she's doing flying practice, and she's training for the Flying Grand Prix, and, well, Luz and King are training together, but before that, there was also this quick moment where we learn that Luz is still taking care of the mouse. Hootie eats it and says that he protected Luz, whatever, so it's basically just the show saying that we can't learn everything about the mouse yet because it's been eaten by Hootie, so now we gotta wait an episode before we get to see that mouse again and see what else it has stored. So basically when Luz and King are training for the Grand Prix, she notices Ida leaving, which was a A-plot piece, which I'll get to when I get to the A-plot. And basically there's all this A-plot stuff, and then we cut to the Grand Prix, where Ida is there to support Luz, and Perry Porter, which is Gus's dad, is the host. We see Luz in her Grudgeby uniform for the race here, which is really cool to see again. And while Ida is watching the Grand Prix, she's called away by a character from the A-plot. I know I keep mentioning the A-plot here. We'll get to that definitely. But I just want to talk about the B-plot for a second here, of course. And then the Grand Prix continues as Luz and King go around a bunch of different turns and things, just a lot of race stuff. And then Luz uses her glyphs to help her. And then after a bunch of A-plot stuff, Ida runs back and comes back to the Grand Prix. Luz gets 5th place because King vomited and they crashed at some point. And then we have this moment where Ida is videoing a message that King had for his dad. They use the pentagram or whatever it's called. And it's basically broadcasted all over Pentagram. I think I don't remember what it's called, but we see that Willow and Amity see it. It's great to see Amity again because we didn't see her last episode. And then King's dad, maybe, we saw. It was absolutely a ancestor or something, someone related to King. But yeah, that was pretty crazy, and I don't know what episode that guy could come in, but I hope soon. And we also learned that King has changed his name to King Clawthorn. So now King is basically Ida's son, which is really cool. That was a really good moment. Because throughout the episode, King kept saying to Ida that he needs to talk to her about something, and Ida thought that he was going to tell her that he needed to leave the owl house when he met his dad, but no, he just wanted to change his name to King Clawthorn and legally become Ida's son, which is really cool. But that was basically the B plot, so now we'll move into the A plot. Okay, A plot time. So we start off with Ida watching TV, and there's been a ceremony for the new Bard Coven leader, who is Rain Whispers. after the retirement of the original Bard Coven leader, Scooter Crane, who sounds like a Muppet. So, basically, there's a B-plot thing that happened where Luz and King talk about leaving the Owl House eventually, and Ida gets sad. Ida goes to the bar. Ida sees Emperor's Coven guards arresting a witch who's using wild magic, and because she's not a part of a coven or anything. And when Ida is about to save this wild witch, a group of rebellious bards use their music to weaken the Emperor's Coven guards' magic and kind of manipulate them. And as they're doing this, a great moment where Tiny Nose, the return of Tiny Nose, approaches the bards, and the bards become surrounded. Ida uses the sewer systems to save them all. And then Ida says that she wants to join the Bard group, this rebellious group, and the leader is uncovered to be Rain Whispers, who was awarded the Bard Coven leader and is also the leader of this rebellion group. So then there's a bunch of B-plot stuff that goes on, and then we have a young Ida flashback, where basically Ida plays a song called Rain's Rhapsody when Ida and Rain are kind of on some sort of date, maybe just kind of like a get-together type thing, but they have feelings for each other, 1000%. Rain Whispers is given advice from Ida and decides to study the Bard Coven system, which is really cool. And they just want to move up in the ranks. They just want to move up in the world. So then, end flashback, we see Ida bringing a map to the Bats, which is the Bard Rebellion group. I don't know what it stands for, but it's called Bats, because they all have bat masks as well. So then the group plans to get these this convoy of imprisoned people from the Emperor's Coven, because the Emperor's Coven is just terrible whatever people, and they decide that they're going to try and get these people out of that raid. So they decide to raid this whole convoy, and then when they get back, Ida plays Rain's Rhapsody again, but the curse causes Ida's magic that came from this song to start burning some stuff, and Rain notices it. So then we get to basically the end part to our A-plot, or the last part to our A-plot, where we have the Abomination Coven leader and the Beastkeeping Coven leader, who names are Darius and Eberwolf. Quite some names. And the Darius and Eberwolf capture or imprison Rain's team in this secret spot where they were tipped to go to. And then Eberwolf and Darius are looking for Rain, presumably. Rain and Ida escape, and then Darius and Eberwolf Darius becomes this abomination beast, while Eberwolf uses her beastkeeping powers, or abilities, whatever, to form, I don't know what they're called, but they're like the worms from the Body Swap episode where King has to race Basha through that crazy deadly highway, whatever it is. Those worm-looking things is basically what Eberwolf created. So then, in order to take down Darius and Eberwolf, Rain and Ida play bard music, which manipulates magic to where all this deadly stuff can happen because of Ida's cursed magic. So then we learn that Ida and Rain could die playing this, so that's not good. And they are willing to until Rain sees Ida's picture of Luz and King. Rain then asks, Ida, do you have kids? Ida says no, but Rain is just kind of no, that clearly Ida has a connection to these people. So Rain completely stops playing and stops Ida from playing before they could die. And then Rain is basically you can't die. There's no way. You gotta take care of these people first. So then Darius and Eberwolf come back and capture Rain. Rain fights Darius and Eberwolf, while Ida runs away back to our B plot, where Ida basically goes to the Grand Prix to support Luz and everything. And then basically we cut back to Rain. Rain breaks out of the Darius's abomination capturing stuff, and Rain runs away, and they become stopped by Kikimora, who is using an Abomatron, and then Kikimora uses her power, which she seems very powerful, by the way, to imprison Rain, and then that's basically the end of the episode. So, quite an A-plot, quite an ending, and I'm very worried about Rain. And I definitely think that there's going to be an episode where Ida has to go and save Rain from the Emperor's Coven or something along those lines. But yeah, that's basically our plot. Alright, outro number 2 here, because if you watch the whole video, you'll know that the first parts of the video here didn't really work out right. So yes, this took me way longer than expected, but now it's done. So I'm excited to get this posted, and I hope you all enjoyed it. Do the common YouTube stuff, like, comment, subscribe, the whole thing. And I will see you in the future when I post the next video. See ya.